The highest league in Clash of Clans, Legends, has its problems. Today we're going to discuss those alongside what is good about Legends League, but offer solutions to make it better. To bring different aspects from the community, I have invited along Clash Bashing, whom I believe this is your favorite part of the game. You have a ton of experience in Legends, and representing the competitive community, TK, who I know has been quite vocal about issues with Legends League. So let's start out with a brief introduction, give your experience, and your favorite part of Legends League. Bash, let's start with yourself.
Hey, yeah, so thanks for having me on Judo. A lot of you may know me, Clash Bashing. I'm a content creator. I've actually kind of blew up because of trophy pushing. I've done some like low town hall pushes, and honestly, like it's just been one of my favorite things throughout the game, throughout my entire career. I think this will be like my 10th-ish year of playing Clash of Clans, but I've always enjoyed like trophy pushing, trying to get to that highest league, especially at the high town halls. I think it's really fun for me, like more of a casual player, not necessarily casual. I would say I'm like above casual, like kind of in between casual pro. But for me, like I use it as a good way to like kind of keep my skills sharp and kind of just freshen up with what the meta is, because you see a lot of meta bases that you'll see in war. So I almost use it like as a way to practice, but also kind of see what's going on with the current meta of the game. So that's what I really like about it.
Awesome stuff. TK, how about yourself?
Well, I've been pushing for a lot of seasons, years, and multiple strategies throughout, and I was hoping to get some nice ranks, one-digit ranks, and obviously the Legends League itself, it's a very enjoyable competitive scene in general for every single player out there. Everyone can join it. There is no entrance fee for it. There is nothing for it. You can literally do practice daily, join Legends League, do your attacks daily, and set some nice bases, of course, and push highest as you can and see what records you can break maybe in your own locals if you wish, and obviously glue ball if you guys go for it. But that would be it, Judo.
Awesome, thank you so much. I personally like Legends League for the same reasons. It allows me to compete by myself. You know, clan war leagues, the result is determined on the team effort, and that's how some people like it. But for me, I like having the result determined by myself, and I can really push myself in a way that I'm not having to sign up to specific wars at set times. I can do my attacks whenever I want, but I appreciate I have a bit of a novelty bias since I've only been pushing for 2 previous seasons. This is my 3rd. So that's why I wanted to invite you guys on as well. And I guess before we get into the real depths as to what we think the issues are with Legends League, I wanted to ask you your opinion on what I think is the most commonly requested feature dropping out of Legends League. Bash, how about yourself?
Oh yeah, I mean, obviously I stay in Legends on my main, but like on my other accounts, I've tried to drop out, and it is such a hassle, man, because like you have to finish the day below 4,900 trophies to get out of Legends League. And it seems like that last little bit from like 5,100 to 5,000, even 5,000 to 4,900. It's almost like a week process. And if there's like special events, I know you and I have talked about this a lot, Judo, where if there's a special event getting ready to start in the game, you could potentially miss out on some of that event. I mean, people miss out on hammer jams and stuff because of this. So I definitely think there needs to be an easier way, because just setting a progress base and not attacking isn't enough, because sometimes you don't take those defenses. And sometimes people are doing the same thing, so they don't want to like gain a bunch of trophies. So yeah, I think there definitely needs to be an easier way to get out of Legends once you're there.
I think it has to be added, to be honest. And when I was, you know, doing some research, looking across Reddit, everything prior to this video, trying to just get a gauge as to what the community feels as well, that was literally the #1 requested feature that I seen. Interestingly enough, the other thing that I seen a lot was the limitation of 8 attacks per day. Now, I have my own thoughts on this, but TK, I guess I'll throw to you on that one. What do you think about the limitation of just 8 attacks?
Well, I think 8 attacks is actually a decent amount of like attacks to get, because it's not too much that you're like, oh my god, I still got like 5 attacks left if you've done all your attacks in the morning. and it's not too little that you are like, okay, I need more practice to get used to a certain army, I need to do more friendly challenges, I need to get active. So the 8 attacks, I think it's a decent like point where you can actually learn a strategy, especially if you have multiple accounts. You can actually learn that strategy quicker with those accounts. But if you have one account and just pushing in Legends League or just randomly doing your attacks, I think you will get a hang of multiple different variety of bases. You will see more even attacks that maybe multiple strategies that they've done on you. So I think the approach was amazing with this certain amount of attacks that you currently have per day. I think if they go higher, it would be slightly devastating for the majority of players. Maybe in esports and high legends, people would enjoy getting more trophies and having more chances in defense to get a defense. But I think for the majority, that is a decent spot to be in.
Wow, I totally agree with you. I wasn't sure what you were going to say there when I said I have my own thoughts, because that was the other thing that I seen, like dropping out of Legends being a big feature, which I totally agree with. But then I think that some of the comments I was reading was more that they were limited on the amount of loot they could farm. And I think that is then, you know, if you're farming, then don't be in Legends if you don't want that limitation cap. But there is benefits of farming in Legends in that you don't lose your loot either. So I think it really comes down to keeping Legends as, yes, it is a nice place to farm, but if you really want to go above that, then it's just not the league for you. And I think that's just the way it is. For me personally, 8 attacks is perfect because some days I have to do all of my 8 attacks at the end of the day. Some days I can do like 2 when I get up, 2 in the middle of the day, and I can adapt based on, you know, the day that I have ahead of me, and it's not too many attacks that I can't fit them all in. I think if they were to up it, like 10 would be the limit, I would say, because if you get past that, you alluded to this, TK, obviously the competitive side, they might like that. You've got more chance of, you know, pushing yourself ahead, because that's where I feel the pros can accelerate ahead, is the consistency across the season and the sheer number of attacks you do across the season, not in one particular day. But then it kind of might come to the point where some people cannot be competitive and push themselves in Legends because they can't commit that amount of time. And I would put myself in that category. So I think the amount of attacks they have is great, actually, at the moment. Moving to the next topic, I guess we will move towards, you know, the more competitive side of things, since I touched upon it there. I want to talk about the balance of the game and whether you feel Legends is too easy, too hard, just right. Obviously, it's, you know, this is a very subjective thing, I think, and I'm going to kind of let you guys go first for the conversation so that I don't steal your thoughts, or you think that I'm putting any kind of pressure for you to agree with me on anything, which I'm absolutely not. That's why I invited you guys on. And if you have anything to say as I'm talking, feel free to jump in. But Bash, and maybe throw back to yourself. What do you think about the balance of the game when it comes to Legends and, you know, pushing to the top, like higher Legends as well?
Yeah, and that's kind of why I like Legends League. Like you kind of alluded to earlier, like where we were talking about clan war leagues. For me, I kind of use it as practice for clan war leagues, because a lot of the bases you'll start to see in Legends, like when you start getting past that 5,600 mark, are bases you're going to see in like Champs 2, maybe even Champs 1 from time to time. And I think it's a good way to kind of keep up with that. I think there is, for me personally anyways, I'm, again, not a pro player, but I'm not like just the average Joe. I think there becomes like a little gap where when you hit like 5,800, if you're not keeping up with like the latest bases, or if you don't have like a contact with great base builds that's keeping up the base meta, it's so hard to get past that 5,900 mark, even finishing at 6,000 trophies, because you can finish out 3-star after 3-star, but if you don't have the bases, everyone else is 3-starring also. But I also think at that 5,800 mark is where you start to see some of those tougher bases, and maybe you're not getting fully perfect days every single day. You start to, you know, mix in some of those mixes, or those misses rather, and that's kind of where I get stuck, is like between 5,800 and 6,000 seems to be like that real tough spot where it's like you almost have to be a pro player to kind of get past that. So it's kind of, for me, like a little bit of a frustration point almost. Like I know I can get to 5,800 every season, but I also know it's gonna be really tough for me to finish above 6,000. So I don't really know what the solution there is besides getting good and getting better bases. But for me, that's definitely a frustration point of getting beyond that mark.
Yeah, I guess before I throw to TK, because I'm sure you have a lot of thoughts on this one, I guess I would say when it comes to the bases, even if the game was more difficult, I think that would still be a problem, right? Because like if you're using a common layout, it doesn't matter what the balance of the game is, people would learn how to beat that base. I mean, we all know whenever, once a base gets leaked, I'm sure we'll get to that later in the conversation, but like once bases become popular, it doesn't take you long to figure out how to beat them with your strategy. And then whenever you see it, unless that person is particularly trying to like use that base and switch the traps around, but like once you have a common layout, you're going to get 3-starred again and again. So I think that issue would always arise no matter what the balance is if you are not, adjusting your layout and things like that. But TK, what about yourself in terms of like balance of where the game is in relation to Legends?
I actually wanted to say a lot of things in between all your words, but now I can do it. Is that the balance itself has a different meaning in general as just a little simple, okay, I can get triples and I'm getting a lot of triples in defense. And also about the bases being like hitting very hardcore in higher Legends, there are certain things that can actually be changed and it doesn't change the game itself, which is really good. And I wrote down a few of my ideas, so I'm actually remembering them now. And having more traps itself in the game is one of the key things. Like trapping your base, knowing which angle someone is attacking is one of the key things to get defenses. But with having multiple entries in one base, that becomes hard. That becomes where you risk certain trap placements for better defenses. But if you're a bit unlucky, or the strategy that it's being used, which is most likely Root Riders or Dragons on your base, is getting attacked from like other angles, that's when you're actually having no traps and you didn't expect the entry and you're getting a bit wrecked for that day. And if you mess up slightly on your attacks, that's when you go minus. And in this current meta, if you go minus, it's a hard thing to go back from that. So the balance itself, I think we talk about like bringing new defenses, changing like all this stuff, but I think a simple thing like traps, where it doesn't add to the percentage, it doesn't mess up the entire like whole player base, or like whatever, whoever wants to trap something, they can. And it's a bit less risky, because in attacking you actually put more risks than I would say defending. Sometimes you gotta go opposite of Town Hall, and if you're an average player, you absolutely didn't touch your base or your traps that much, you are not building it, you're not trapping it, you're copying it most likely, so you're not used to it as well. But in attacks, you're doing more risks. That's when you get a bit wrecked on defense. But if you go higher in Legends, that's when the pros start trapping certain entries. But if that works, is where you get rewarded. So you can see how this balance exactly talks about like, okay, there are certain things in attack that you can do and actually get 320. But if you do the same effort and all the things that you need to do to build a good base, a perfect base, it still might not work because of the risks you put. It's out of like 8 times, maybe 7 times it's not gonna work, and that one time might not just be enough for you to boost your trophies high, and someone else may go higher than you just being lucky by getting a bit lower players from Legends League hitting you, which is obviously a whole different topic here, Judo.
Yeah, I'm sure we will get to that a little bit as well, but I guess just picking up on your points before I share my thoughts on the balance, you talk about more traps, which is one thing that I've certainly seen the last couple of months in like, adjusting layouts, is you can't have generic trap placement to, like you said, try and cover all angles of attack. You have to, try and bait a certain entry and then put all of your traps there. Yes, once you have actually used your base for a day in Legends, you can get some level of data and start to see, okay, people are actually attacking from 3 o'clock because of X, Y, and Z, and then you can move your traps. But when you say more traps, are you just talking about to be able to bait an entry even more so that you can put traps generically? And I guess a follow-up to that would be, what would you suggest for more traps? Because I believe we did actually get a couple more with Town Hall 17, and this is a difficult thing when it comes to the competitive side of Legends versus the casual player, because traps are frustrating for casuals as well. So is it just in the higher essence of Legends, or are you thinking overall game balance needs more traps?
I think if it's an overall thing, it would make more sense, as in, okay, there's certain entries you can bait, obviously, and we talked about bases getting leaked and stuff, which we'll get to that, of course, very soon. But that same topic is a bit like, okay, if a base gets leaked, because there's certain entries, everyone already know the traps are gonna be there, so that easily just moves all the attacks from other side. Or even if someone attacks from the same side, a simple Cocoloon or something, or a simple test barbarian or something can really be frustrating pulling those traps. And those are the only traps. Like, for example, you have around, I believe 8 giant bombs currently. So if you want to take down an entire Root Rider or force an early Warden, you need around 4 or 3 giant bombs in one area, and that is the exact entry. If they attack the compartment right next to it, that's when you basically wasted the traps and you didn't activate their Warden ability. This is just a simple, like, little thing that can change the outcome. So if the Warden ability would have gone earlier, that's when your Clan Castle or your other heavy damage defenses can hurt the attacker later. But having more traps will make it at least you can bait maybe 2 entrants, or you're baiting 1 entrance and having slight bits of traps in the core. Why not? Having a few spring traps for enemy headhunters around your own hero, somewhere where, okay, usually when I'm building a base and trapping it, I put the spring traps for the Valkyries. I have little spots between the regular buildings where Root Riders don't go. That's when the Valkyries go. But that's, again, you are risking a bit like everything for those 3 spring traps in front of your 3x3 building to sprung like 5 Valkyries. And if they enter from other side, you have basically nothing to work around with. Of course, with the current new defense, the Fire Spitters, we have a very nice, I would say, what do you even call that? Something that gives the attacker the idea of where to attack. But because there is massive, yes, because there is massive amount of equipments that we have right now, the entries and the strategies around those entries, the Suis or the Flameflinger, Siege Barracks, everything is multipled. So I think we are having a lot more entries than we used to back in other town halls. That's why I'm suggesting not crazy amount of traps, but a few more that you can bait also other entries, or, as I said, in the core.
Yeah, I mean, I can see that. I think, like I said, to me, traps are a double-edged sword, because for the competitive players, like, they are the most important thing. So, like, competitive players want more, but they're also the most frustrating for the general player base. So there has to be that balance. And I think you touched on an interesting point there about the equipment opening up so many more possibilities, and that maybe is why we're seeing more, entries around a base. But the Fire Spitters are a prime example of maybe we get more things like that. And the Giga Bomb's actually a good example as well, because you can place that at one side to try and, like, force an RC dive, like, away from that location or something like that. And I think that's, again, where the skill of building comes in to try and get those entries. And I also think that, game's the game. Like, you're going to get unlucky sometimes, you're going to get lucky other times. And to me, when it comes to balance, it's always just such a subjective thing. Like, I am personally really happy where the balance is, because I think about balance in terms of consistency. I think a lot of people talk about it in, like, hit rate of a singular attack. But for me, part of the skill is being consistent across all of your attacks in that day. That means a variety of bases, and not even that day, but across the season as well. For me, generally, I get 7 to 8 3-stars a day. More days than not, I do actually have, like, 1 fail. So to me, that's where the pros can separate themselves, right? I'm not consistent enough. If the game was too easy, I would 3-star all of those bases. So it always comes down to, like, the subjective opinion as to how strong you want the game. But I always have, in my view, a little bit of a problem when people say the game is too easy, and yet they're only getting 5 or 6 3-stars a day. I don't classify that as the game being too easy. I think there is a lot to be said about consistency across the season, and that's where we do see the pros rise to the top. And to me, I think the balance is really good in terms of Legends League, because if you're not at that level where the pros are, well, then that impacts you like it does for myself, right? I drop that 1 attack per day, and that's on me. So, and I also think there's something to be said of, like, I see people say, oh, I'm constantly getting 320, and I get base building is difficult. But then you see the base they're running, and they're running the most common layout in Legends League, and you're like, well, what do you expect? If you actually want to get to a top 10 place or something, let's say, well, then defending is 50% of the game. Like, I don't mean it the wrong way. I don't build bases either unless it's for the first half of the season where it doesn't really matter. Then I'll run my bases. But like, I can't expect to get those top places if I am not learning that aspect of the game. So I think there's always things to be said either way. And the balance is just a really difficult one when it comes to like subjectivity as to how difficult that person wants it to be. And I guess with that, a common theme that we see, I guess mainly from the pros, is hard mode in Legends League. So I feel like we have to talk about that specifically. Bash, what do you think? Would you like to see hard mode integrated into Legends League?
Not necessarily, especially not the new hard mode. I don't know if you've tried the new hard mode, but it is insanely hard. But I think like some of the things you just touched on right there, players like myself who use Legends as practice, like I don't go and compete in esports, I don't compete in tournaments, although I have in the past, but I don't these days. But even the guys in my clan that do, we kind of use it as like kind of keeping our skills fresh for that. But also like that base building aspect is very, very tough. And I think there's a huge skill gap. Again, like once you get to that 58, 5900, like that skill gap really starts to widen where you see where if you're dropping 1 or 2 attacks, and that's all it takes is 1 or 2 attacks a day, where maybe you just get a 98 or a 95% and you're missing out on those 8-9 trophies. And that really does make the difference. And then not knowing how to base build or not having a base builder on your team, I mean, you and I are kind of lucky because we're content creators and we have context, but the average player, they don't have those contexts. They're watching, you know, us, they're watching Itsu, they're watching the base building channels and trying to find base builders, or they're following the certain people on Twitter or X, whatnot, that are leaking bases, which I know we keep alluding to leaking, but it's really just trying to keep up with what the pro players are doing. And I think there's a huge skill gap already there in Legends where I think at a point, maybe above like 6,000, where most players like myself, I rarely break 6,000 unless I'm really going hard, changing out my bases every other day or whatnot. I don't rarely see 6,000. I think that would have to be the number. Like it'd have to be a really significant number. It's not going to affect the most player base because there's already a huge skill gap in Legends. I mean, one thing we haven't even talked about is lower town halls can't even really push in Legends anymore because of the way the system is. Before, you used to be able to push as a lower town hall and actually make some progress. Now you're just kind of, if you're a town hall 13 and you get to 5,200, you're getting minus 320 every day. So I think adding that hard mode in too low could be devastating to a lot of the player base. But I think like if it was at above 6,000, I think that would be okay.
DK, how about yourself?
Well, I was gonna like obviously agree with Bash about everything he said, and also I wanted to give you my thoughts on the trophy range if hard mode was gonna be a good addition to Legends. Personally, I think it's good. I think it should come, and I think it will make a difference between obviously all those like high clans and players, how other players actually push higher and do higher ranks. But I think the range that it can be is around the 507 or 8. I'm saying this range because I've actually have one of my very like friends have a clan that it's a bit average clan that they do 9 to 5 jobs, they come back home, they do 7 attacks, maybe 6. If they're good on a good day, 8 attacks, and usually on the average day or an average player, they are going up to 5,600 if they don't want to be competitive. Now, above that, that's when people are looking for bases. They want to do ranks. They want to go high, they want to learn those new strategies that the YouTubers and creators bring. They want to be able to break their own records. That's when things get a bit heavy right now. As Bash also said, he also stocks around 5,700, 5,800, 900. This is where people get stuck. Currently, I'm actually stuck there for a week, to be honest with you guys. So yeah, it's a bit crazy right now how the people that are above that also hit you. And that's when you get stuck, because people from 6,000 and 509, that's when they hit you and you're around 507, cannot get a defense, and it's kind of tough. But if they bring a hard mode, that's when, if you're really good, and I'm not talking about, by the way, the current hard mode, we can talk about that later, what can be changed and stuff coming. But if you are using a lot of your brain and using nice strategies, getting those nice like attacks doesn't have to be 320. You can literally get 280 and 290 like back in Town Hall 15. That's when on the defense you would also get around the same trophies or even less, because you would get nicer defense. Now if you are good in attack, that's when you can boost high. But right now if you're good in attack, necessarily even if you're good on defense, you might not go higher. Like I'm pushing in the same clan as a lot of the pro players right now, Stars, Klaus, Gaku, and these players also have multiple accounts, and sometimes you actually see their accounts recently stuck in those same trophy range. No matter how many bases they try, they're all base builders and they also get stuck. So there is this little gap between 6,000 and 500, like 5,800, depending on where in the season we are. But a 35-day season sometimes could be devastating, because you could get stuck literally for 2 weeks in the same exact trophy range between those. So the hard mode can actually help you. If you are good enough, you can boost high and go to 6k. That's when then the bases get a bit toxic. You might lose on your attacks, but if you have a good base, you can keep being in those range. You don't necessarily get dropped really low, especially when now like you have one trophy is like 5 ranks. You have the same trophy and there's like 5 people in the same trophies. That's when if you lose, you're like completely gone from like 100 ranks below if you simply just mess up a 99% and that is not what people look for, to be honest, if they want to be competitive, Judo.
Yeah. So my thoughts on hard mode is I would not like to see hard mode in Legends League, at least not in its current form. And the main reason for that is I don't want to learn 2 different game modes. I have zero interest in hard mode. Like I enjoy esports. I'm very much into esports, but I'm not going to play that myself for reasons I said before. And much like Bash, I use Legends League to push my own limits, practice for clan wars, everything like that. And because of the equipment cap, I would not like to see it in hard mode whatsoever. I think that would ruin Legends League for me, because I don't want to have to learn 2 game modes. Like, oh, actually, for my giant arrow, I need to take an extra lightning spell for that air defense or an earthquake spell. Or like, I don't want to adjust my strategies from Legend to clan war, because I don't have interest in hard mode. I think it's a great addition to the game for the pros, because as I've said in the past, they should try and cater to all of the player bases they can, especially the hardcore players. But in Legends League, I don't want to see the current hard mode integrated. I am not against a different hard mode where it is just stat based and I don't have to learn a different game mode. But I guess that's a separate topic of like how many different versions of hard mode do they have. Being real about it, I don't think they will add the current hard mode into Legends anyway because of the equipment cap. Like their monetization, I'm not just trying to be realistic. I'm not sure they will add the current hard mode in Legends anyway. But I'm not opposed to a pure stat-based hard mode, as long as I don't have to learn 2 different games, if that makes sense. And I think the trophy range is really difficult, because I would not like to see Legend League split. I've seen this suggested as well, of like have different bands of Legends League, but I see it on Reddit every single day when someone hits Legends League and they are over the moon. Like they have hit the highest league in Clash of Clans. That is a big deal for players. And so like having Legends as Legends, I think is great. If this hard mode, whatever it was integrated, it would have to be done whereby it was just a tiny bit of text saying above this trophy range or whatever it applied. But the difficulty I see it as, and you touched on this, TK, is where you are in the season, how long a season is. Like 2 seasons ago, it was 35 days. And then, the one after that was only 28 days. And, 5,700 trophies 2 seasons ago wasn't really that high. I think you were looking at like top 50,000, top 100,000. And like, it's really difficult as well as to when does it play in, because clearly that hard mode wouldn't kick in until the latter half of the season when people have gradually pushed up. And then depending on the season, depends on how far down that kicks in. So it makes sense to have a trophy limit, or maybe it is a top 5,000, top 10,000 of players. They are the ones that are matched in this hard mode, and that's it. Irrespective of the season, the length, it's just that top 10,000 or something like that. Because I think that really is the difficulty. The way I see it, I wouldn't like to see hard mode. I wouldn't like to see Legends split. But it's where do you integrate that where it's smooth, where the top players can be competitive. But on the flip side, like I said, in my view, being consistent across the season is part of where the skill is. And, you know, you might get stuck for a couple of days in that banding, like you were saying. But at least from my limited experience, you have way more experience than me, so maybe I'm totally wrong about this. But, like, even if you get stuck for a little bit, if everyone else is pushing up, then you match easier and, like, you'll push up and cat. It's really only the last, like, 7 to 14 days that matters. Before then, it doesn't even matter where you are in Legends League. Like, you can always catch up pretty quick due to matching those lower players. It's really only at the end where it matters. And I don't know, some days you get lucky, some days you get unlucky. It seems to me, again, from my limited experience, that, like, it pans out across the season. The first time I pushed, I was working alongside Ghost and Ninja, and we were all using the same base. And, like, some days I would get 320 on defense, Ninja would get like 5 defenses. I'm like, what's that about? But then it all kind of played out in the end where we were roughly even, right? So yes, you have those days where it's not as great, but that's also part of the skill of keeping your head in the game and being able to push on to the next day in order to remain competitive. So I think there's just so much that goes into it that it's really difficult to have a definitive answer as to whether it should or shouldn't be implemented. That said, if they were to implement hard mode, I think they should hold off on it until they've tried some other changes first. And I'm going to throw it to you, TK, first on this, because I agree with you. I had these exact same thoughts I seen on Twitter. You were talking about, obviously, like removing names, obstacles, stuff like that. Totally agree. I think if they implemented those before hard mode, that would be a good first step to see what difference it makes. So can you touch upon those and expand for people that, you know, don't really know what we're talking about?
Yeah, sure. So win trading, obviously, it's been going around for a long time in Legends League. Currently, it's actually a lot less, but it's still there. But what we mean by removing obstacles and, of course, the names, it's basically first for win trading and second for those base leaking channels that leak the bases of higher players within a day. Now, this obviously makes everything a bit difficult on defense, but also makes others boost really high if they do win trading. And removing obstacles also saves one thing, which is those blind things that you can actually get blinded by those obstacles in Legends League if you see a base like that. And I think you all know what I'm talking about. But if you remove that, obviously every base becomes just like any other. Some people might not have any obstacles, but they want to kind of put obstacles to mess up and try their best on defense because maybe they're a bit annoyed with what defense they've been getting. So this little thing can do and really do good, I think, in Legends League. But at the same time, the name change, the name removing thing, I think I believe it's a bit deeper, as in like how do they keep it, as in, okay, you can go back to the replay and it shouldn't still be there, and then how does the replays then work and all that stuff. But I think there are certain things that are connected to it, especially when you go to, I don't know, Legends Robots or something on Discord. Those also sometimes tell you, okay, there's been attacks like this. There's certain like data that goes around, which I think if they want to touch upon that, they need to see every aspect. And hopefully, if one day that comes to Legends League, we won't be getting a lot of bugs, because obviously Legends League right now, I think the only bug that they have is like higher players sometimes getting like 2 or 3 days in a row with getting hit by lower players and boosting their trophies. So like the Legends League is currently like, as in, nothing is wrong in like other terms except the balance for some certain players. But removing that huge aspect of the names and everything, so you are having no clue who you're hitting, it's a bit gonna be, I think, harder for them. That's maybe why they haven't done it till now, because it's been going around for a long time, maybe since the beginning of Tunnel 16, where defense was getting hard and people were doing those win trades. That's when, like, I think everything started. And yeah, we didn't see any adjustments to it. So maybe it's a bit deeper than that. And I don't know, what do you think, Bash?
Realistically, I don't have high expectation for that, because after all, there's a huge monetization aspect of that. I mean, they sell decorations, they sell sceneries, and if I'm spending $5 on this decoration, if I'm spending $33 on the scenery, I want it to be shown. I agree, maybe getting rid of the name tags and the clan tags, that would help, and that's something easy. But as far as decorations, I see these bases with a bunch of decorations, and they can be kind of distracting and mess with you a little bit. But I also like that should be a benefit if you're investing in these decorations or keeping these decorations, whether they spawn naturally or if you buy them from the metal shop, you buy them from the event shop, wherever they come from. I think that should be something you can use to your advantage. If it kind of looks like something that could be distracting, why not throw it on the base? I've seen those bases, but I think if it's something that is accessible to the game and you're investing in it, even if it's free currency like the event currency, if you're buying that, you want to show it off. So I don't think we'll ever see a point where we're getting rid of decorations and getting rid of sceneries. But I do agree that the names should be removed from Legends League, because I think that would help with win trading, help with burning those bases and stuff. But for me personally, I like seeing the sceneries. I like even picking sceneries that I think might help me out in Legends because of certain builds or whatnot. So I think I don't want to necessarily like say a scenery is going to give you an advantage, but I kind of like the thought of, hey, maybe this could help me defend if I throw all these decorations I've been saving forever on there. It might mess with someone. And I've seen people in my clan actually complain about sceneries or the decoration bases. So I think they do kind of throw people off, and I think that's something, if it's in the game and you can use it, why not?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because my thoughts are like almost bang in the middle of both of you, right? I'm exactly with you on the current game, Bash, because at first I was very much like, I don't want to use obstacles in the middle of my base. And then like everyone does it and it's part of the game. So you're kind of, not that you're forced, you could always take that like, I'm not going to do it. But when defenses are so hard to come by and every other base you come up against when you get to the top has decorations like that, you're kind of like, all right, well, if I don't do this, then I'm just handicapping myself every single day. So you almost feel like you have to do that. That said, I don't think it's a good thing for the game and in like the competitive side of things. But I totally agree with you, Bash, that I don't think they should not let you use your sceneries or decorations because, like you said, you've paid for some of those. And I think they do a good job of balancing the sceneries where none of them, like, put you off. Like, yes, there might be the odd person that prefers to attack the classic scenery, but generally speaking, they're all very visible. You can't, it's not like you're getting an advantage. So I do think you should be allowed to use them. But I do think the obstacles, and I think this is where, again, this suggestion should come into play in that higher band, wherever if they land on a trophy count or whether it's a top 10,000, I think is not as clean, but it might be easier because that adapts across seasons and stuff like that. And you really are hitting that competition side of things. I don't actually think there's that many people that truly push to that top level. I think if they went with like top 10,000, that would be more than enough. But if they blocked the obstacles from being able to be put in the base, like you could put them around the edge, still, you've paid for them, you want to show them off, you could still use your scenery, and yeah, remove the names, it would stop that sniping. And like TK said, it would have to be gone from replays. But the reason I say that stuff would only be like the top 10,000 or so is that you lose that social aspect. Like one of the things I've enjoyed the most about Legends is attacking those top players. Like I messaged you prior to this call, TK, but like I've attacked you twice the last 2 seasons, and it's cool when you match people that you know. I see people put on Reddit whenever they attack me and stuff, and I wouldn't want to lose that aspect of the game, but I can see where I see this in everything in the game, right? It doesn't matter what's added, there's pros and cons. And I think the pros in this situation of removing the names and stopping obstacles in the middle of the base for that top band of Legends would outweigh the cons of that social aspect of things. But then the rest of Legends League is the same, and that's where I fall on the removing the names and stuff like that. And I think they should try those first before they went for some overhaul and like adding hard mode and all of this, where they could actually lose the magic of Legends League, because I know we're mainly focusing on the problems and potential solutions to hopefully improve Legends League, but actually the system is amazing. And I guess before we get to, I have like 2 other points I want to talk about here, but I asked for your very brief, what your favorite part of Legends League is, but I guess just to switch from the problems for a little bit, what do you think is good about the system?
Yeah, I mean, the current system is fun. For me, usually when I wake up, one of the first things I do when I turn on my iPad is do 1 or 2 of my Legends League attacks, because it's something that kind of, wakes up my skills, kind of freshens me up. I think there's a lot of benefit for the more casual player. If you're trying to get better at the game, I think Legends, and I preach this to my clan, again, we're like an above average clan. We're not super competitive, but we're like champs 2. We just got promoted to champs 1 in CWL. I tell them, like, use Legends League as practice, and I base a lot of who gets to play in CWL in our starting lineup, because we obviously have other clans, but I base a lot of our starting lineup on our trophy rankings, because I know, like, those people that are 57, 58, 5900, they're going to see a lot of those CWL bases, or they're going to at least be familiar with how to attack the bases. So I think for a more casual player like myself, or above casual player, I think there's a lot of benefits to Legends. You get to learn the meta, you get to know what the bases are looking like, and even if you go and watch like an Itsu video, you could try out whatever fun army he's trying. Well, for him, he makes everything look good, but you could try that army out and see how it's actually going to work in Legends, which is going to kind of give you a real kind of mirror to how war is going to function as well.
Yeah, and how about yourself, TK? What do they do well with Legends?
I think what I can say, actually, you mentioned it, but we went through it quickly, and it's actually quite a good thing, whereas you're not forced to attack all 35 or 28 days. You can literally start very late if you've been traveling, but you still want to push, or you still want to do the practice. You're not forced to do anything in Legends League, and that's the good thing about it. The loot is great. You can upgrade. You can upgrade walls. I'm upgrading my walls always in Legends League. Yeah, I don't go down to upgrade it quicker or something. And there's always Hammer Jam, of course. But Legends League doesn't push anything on players. But now, of course, there is certain things that is about that removing name thing. I personally also enjoy when I find those high players and hit them, and I'm like, oh my god, I found this guy 3 times today or something. Obviously, these are the fun parts of Legends, but if you're more as in just, of course, pushing for those EOS or stay deals money, and all you do is, of course, pushing Legends League with multiple accounts, I don't think you're certainly going to play the game for fun in Legends, but that's when you're not looking for anything else, and all you need is just the game being harder and harder for you. So that's when you can see the different versions and just the variety of players out there, how they count the fun.
Yeah, exactly. I've loved the element of trying to improve my strategies across a variety of bases, and you don't feel at the start of the season, if you want to think, okay, next season I'm going to swap to, so I've actually never used the Root Rider attack before, because other than the Queen Charge Root Rider when they were first released, I never used the Root Riders and Valkyries, and I pushed the last 2 seasons with dragons, but what I found from doing that was that you can be baited easier with dragons than ground attacks. So this season I decided I'm going to learn Root Riders. And the first part of the season where I was, figuring out and making a lot of mistakes, it was fine because it didn't really matter. It's now at this point where at the time of recording this, I think there's 11 days left. Now is when I really need to be stepping up and being consistent, right? So I love that aspect as well. I love that I don't have to learn different game modes. From this, it will actually improve my clan war attacks. And for me personally, like I said at the start, I really love being able to push my limits. And one thing that I want to transition into here is the profile and the leaderboards. First, we'll go to the profile because I love the fact that when you get inside the top 1,000, it's displayed on your badge. That's just so cool to me. And one thing that I would love is when they've said the profile is again something they want to look at. I'd love to have the Legends League really prominent like that, and your icon, if they ever let us change your icon, you should be able to use your legend rank or your best finish maybe as your icon. So like for you, TK, I know you said you were aiming for a single digit finish. I would love to be able to use my legend best finish as my icon. And I think there is more to be done there to encourage pushing in legends and show that off on your profile. I guess it doesn't like. I guess we'll go to TK for that one since I
Sure.
mentioned you. Like, what do you think about that?
I think we can actually have a few nice things coming to Legends, like obviously not connected to balance or attacking and defense. Some nice ideas bringing to Legends, and I think one of the main things that I've also seen, it's those Legends trophies. Everyone in Legends, you can open their profiles and you can see the trophies they've collected ever since they've been pushing with that account. And those trophies should be just like gold, elixir or CWL medals where you can actually get something with them. This I think would actually really like push players into, okay, if you actually push higher, if you do more effort, you can actually get more stuff out of it later than just a nice number on your profile, obviously. And for lower players or average players, they don't necessarily even get to that top 1000 where they can get the number, but they can actually get something out of it. For example, they can upgrade their equipments better if they are around the 5600 trophies, because they get some nice like Legends League trophies that they can spend in the Legends League shop. Something like this could really be interesting coming to the game, I think.
Yeah, I have my thoughts on that, but I'll throw to you first, Bash. What do you think about the profile, legend shop, that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's really cool. I mean, I went and looked at my profile as soon as TK was talking about it there, and there's definitely some cool stuff with the legends. And like you mentioned, Judo, like one of the coolest things, and I've had it just briefly for a few moments, is seeing like that really high rank. Like I've had #1 rank. You wake up or you stay up and do your attacks at the end of the day, and then you climb up there for a few minutes, and it's like one of the coolest things to see on there. I agree with TK a lot there. I would love to see something done with the Legends trophies. It's kind of cool, like we accumulate those every month, even if it's just like a decoration or a skin or something. Like I think that'd be something really cool to be done with it. But yeah, I think like adding more to the profile would definitely entice people to push more, because there's a lot of 17s that just, for some reason, they'll like sit down in like Crystal League or something. It's like, why not just push up to Legends and just have a little bit of fun with it, So I think that could be a way to kind of entice some of those players that really have no interest in Legends.
Yeah, I mean, the shop is something I have on my list here. It might have even been in one of Stuart's AMAs. They were asked, someone, it might have even been Darian, was asked about a Legend League shop, and they said probably not, as in like, will it ever be added? And I was quite shocked by that answer, because I think it's just such a perfect solution. And like, if Clash of Clans is watching, like, I know they've gone like back on things they've said they wouldn't do recently. I can't see why it wouldn't be added. Even if it was cosmetic, I actually don't think it should be tied to progression, because I feel that might make people feel like they are left behind. But if it was purely cosmetic, skins, scenery, obstacles, whatever, like if they add emotes and more stuff to the profile, being able to use those legend trophies for cosmetic reasons, I think would just be amazing. I can't see why the team said it would probably not be added, other than time and, adding that versus something else. One other thing I want to talk about is the leaderboard. So there should be more stats on the leaderboard, in my opinion. I don't know why the local leaderboard isn't like finalized, but you can't see where you finished the season in the local leaderboard because it just resets. Obviously, like the top 200 you can see on the regular leaderboard, and you see your global finish. But the last couple of times, like 2 seasons ago, I was like in the top 3 of the UK, and I don't know where I finished because it just got wiped in the end of it. So I don't know why that's the case. I think they should lock in that. They should allow us to see even more stats. And even from a personal perspective, I love like some of the Discord bots that let you see across the season what your stats have been. Like currently we just see the last 2 days, right? The current day and the previous day. I should be able to pull up all of the stats from the rest of it, even if I don't want to make that public, like a war log. I should be able to see those stats. And yeah, I just wanted to get your thoughts on that, guys. So I guess we'll throw right back to you, Bash. Is there any stats per se that you would love to see, or like leaderboard changes that you think would make Legends better?
not super huge on the stats personally, because I don't
Wow,
ever
shut
like,
me right down.
yeah, I don't ever like, like have ambitions of really pushing. Like I know that I'm capped at like 58, 5900, just because like I'm not, actively changing my bases a ton, and like for the most part, like I'll use just a couple of bases. It is cool seeing like kind of what you average throughout the season, but for me, like I'm not overly competitive with it, so I don't really look at it that much that way. I think the profile stuff we talked about is cool, and some stat stuff could be cool, like seeing your average throughout the season could be cool, but also like if you miss a day, then your stats are going to be all skewed anyways. So I don't know, for me it's not something that's super desirable. I guess I'm kind of an outlier there.
No, I that's one of the reasons I asked you on, right? Because like I said at the start, I have been pushing, this is the 3rd season, and like I'm really into the pushing right now, but if I don't know how I'll feel in a year's time. Like, does that novelty wear off? And then I'm just like, yeah, I'll kind of do my attacks, but I'm not that interested in it. Like, that's why I wanted to get your perspective on it as well. And I don't think the stats would be affected if you missed a day or something. I think they should be able to amalgamate it in a, and I guess this is just my view throughout different areas of the game. When I get to my video talking about updates I want to see this year, but like one thing I would love to see is just more advanced stuff in like, the descriptions of troops. I should be able to click an advanced description and it would tell me the mechanics of the troop, and like if I want to learn specifics of the game, I should be able to learn that in game. I shouldn't have to go to YouTube to figure out like how a set thing works. And I feel the same with stats. It's all there. Discord bots pull it from the API, so like why are some of those not just displayed in the game? I'll obviously throw to you now, TK. When it comes to the stats, maybe you're not interested as well, but if you are, being more in the competitive side of things, like what would you like to see?
I think the stat that I would personally like to see is maybe like when you open someone's profile, for example, you're visiting someone, and then there's certain like buttons that you can see how many trophies they got the same day, the day before, maybe like 5 days or something at least. Or they could be other like very specific ones, but I think this helps out a lot. Whereas everyone does that. Everyone want to know how much trophies this person got in defense or in offense. If they're using a certain strategy, they don't have to necessarily go and like go to their army camps, or those same Discord bots actually show the hero equipments. Like right now, you can't go on someone's account and see their hero equipments from visiting, I think. So these are the little things that could actually be in the game, whereas you don't have to necessarily go copy the tag, go to the channel, go copy, paste, all these type of things, just to see a simple like, okay, if this guy got like 320, what was his defense and other things, obviously. And this is maybe the only thing currently in my mind. Maybe if I put some times in it, there's certain stats that could help pushers and maybe get better, but I don't have it in my mind right now. And this would be I think the normal one, the easy one, and something that everyone can actually have fun with. And it's not necessarily for everyone, as Bash said, he doesn't like, or he doesn't maybe care about too many stats, but this is just a little thing that could be in the game as well if someone is looking for it.
Yeah, I think for me, like when they have said, because I think they've said it in a few different times, like they've said, yeah, we're looking to improve Legends. And I believe on the recent Discord stage, unless I'm mistaken, they said they were looking to like overhaul Legends. And when they said that, I was like, whoa, I think Legends is brilliant. I don't think it needs an overhaul. I think if they're trying to cater to the competitive players, maybe there are things like that, like stats and X and, different things that they could do to just make it better, whereby it doesn't really impact the experience of the majority of people in Legends, right? And I that's where I was saying before with the name change and the obstacles, I would rather them do those things first than trying to do some big overhaul. And I don't know, maybe again it's because I'm new to it, but I feel like there is the potential to then like make it worse, right? And I think that's one thing that because I'm enjoying it right now, I am definitely like apprehensive of.
I had an idea actually. I wanted to ask you both if you guys maybe like it or not. Now, we've seen a lot of new events and like the things that Supercell actually test kind of with the new events or something like the hero like control thing, right? something that could potentially happen somewhere around it in near future, who knows. But something that I would want to see as an event is a whole different league, something really like completely different than Legends. You can sign up, you don't have to, but you can sign up for it, and it has a whole different rankings just for example one season, no matter like the event itself. It doesn't have to be New Year, or it doesn't have to be Halloween, just something that comes into the certain like time of the game. And then you can actually have anything you want, any adjustments, any banned things. This season, this thing is banned in this tournament, for example, but it won't be as a tournament. It's just one, just like Legends, you do certain maybe attacks, maybe 10 attacks, as Judo said, the capacity of having more attacks. So it's more for competitive scene, but it could be something that they can move around whatever they want, test whatever they want in it, with the percentage of defenses being higher. Like before bringing those hard mode and everything to Legends, they can test everything in that type of event by bringing that, I think, league. So that might be a very like reach or maybe bad idea. I don't know what you guys think.
It could be a way to like test things for sure, but I don't know. I don't really have high hopes for that, just because we don't see very many new game modes introduced often. And like I know we get the events, but even then, like sometimes they don't work the way as intended. So I think it could bring more issues with it. I don't know. I wouldn't have too high hopes on that personally.
Yeah, I think my main thing, I guess I'd have to have a bit more like think about it, but initially off the top of my head, like how many players would that truly cater to? Like I'm all for helping make the game fun for everybody, but if it depends on how long it would take them to produce something like that, where I'm not sure how many players from the general player base would enjoy that. And I guess my other thing would be, like, what would they be testing? Like, yes, maybe if there was the odd thing banned, like you said, but it doesn't change things that drastically. It almost just brings a temporary ranked mode, which I know that, some people float that around as well. Like, oh, what happens if there was a separate ranked thing? To me, it goes back to Legends League is ranked in my view, and the reason I don't want to see Legends League split or anything is because I see the amount of people that are overjoyed when they hit the highest league. Like, that is their achievement, to hit Legends. For a lot of people, that is their goal, right? And like, if you start adding like Legends 3, Legends 2, Legend 1, then like, they don't feel like they've hit the top league. It just doesn't quite feel as rewarding to the masses, and that's kind of how I see ranked as well. But I don't know, I guess I'd have to see more of a flushed out idea of it. Yeah, sorry to not be overjoyed
No,
there,
all good, all
TK.
good. Just an idea.
One thing, I guess, before we, have closing thoughts and things, is I always used to love, and I'm probably going to mention this when I get to it's probably going to be the video after this one. I hate to always like give promises and then don't deliver, but I will be working on it soon, like the updates I would like to see, and I have a long list this year. But I always used to like TV Royale in Clash Royale, back when I used to play it, before I realized I got too angry playing it. But I used to love that, and I can see why it's not in Clash of Clans, because of reasons we've spoke about, like, top players, things would get leaked, the bases would get leaked, whatever. But if there was the names removed in like the top 10,000, I don't see why they wouldn't be able to bring something like that, where it was just, randomly picking live attacks from players inside the top 10,000, and within the Legends League, like, you could press that button, anyone could press that, and they could watch the top players attacking, because you wouldn't be able to identify whose base it was or anything. Like, if that came into play, I think they could also add like a TV Clash of Clans. What do you guys think about that? Is there any like negatives I'm not seeing? Bash, if you want to jump in first.
Yeah, I used to love TV Royale, and like you'd see someone you knew on there, like a clanmate or something, or I don't know. It was always cool just like seeing that. I think if you did remove like the names and the clan names and stuff like that, I wouldn't see anything negative with it. And like you said, like if it's within the top 10,000, I think it would also benefit in a way of showing people how certain attacks work or how certain players are using certain attacks that maybe you're not thinking of. Because I know, like, when I watch Clash Clans esports and someone does something that I've never seen before, it's like, oh, I have never thought to use that piece of equipment or that troop in that way. So I think that could just, like, within the game, open up like the horizons for some players that aren't going out and seeking content and watching live streams. I think it could be a way to expose them to new strategies and new ways to use things that are already in the game. So I think it would be really cool.
Yeah, and I know I'm jumping in a lot of ideas here that I'm going to get to in that video, but like another thing I would love to see, picking up on what you said, Bash, is I would love whenever you watch a replay, that's not yours obviously, there'd just be a button there that you could press to then copy the army to like your quick train, right? And then if you watch an army in that screen, you're like, wow, that looks so cool, I want to try and learn that. You could just, boom, you copy the army, you're good to go. TK, any negatives on that which you see? Because, yeah, I mean, if names are removed, I would love to see that added.
I mean, there is certain negatives that I was thinking of. Obviously, the positive was amazing because I personally also like that idea. The negatives that came to my mind was that, okay, so how is this going to kind of not let those high players go tap on every one of those replays and see all those new bases that have been uploaded? That has to be like there has to be, I think, a certain maybe trophy range, as in, okay, this trophy range 5,500 for example can watch those replays, because obviously they're not gonna find each other. That like person in 6,000 is not gonna find that other person. But that is then okay, so if you are in lower legends you have more fun. Then it's like, you know, there are certain things about that. But obviously if someone from 5,900 wants to open the TV Royale and goes to, I don't know, maybe 20 replays there is been uploaded there in, for example, today.
Oh, I was thinking it would just be like a live feed, by the way. Like if you missed it in that moment, that was it. Like I don't think it would upload replays, but I mean, maybe it could, but so I think live. It would just be like a, you know, like a live thing. And if you missed it, you missed it. But so you think there could be negatives in like people seeing the layouts and how to beat them effectively, or are you?
So if it was personally me myself, like, and it's, for example, as you said, live, I would be staying like on that TV and just tapping to go to live to the new replays, seeing if I haven't seen that base, I would see it. Okay, is it a good base? Should I take it? Should I not take it? What are the traps? And how does that help me benefit if I find that base today or tomorrow? So in the competitive scene, it might not be the best idea to keep those bases from being leaked and shown, especially the new ones when people change daily. If you've pushed in Legends Judo, I think you used to also change daily because you saw how quickly it gets leaked. So
my bases got leaked.
Exactly. Like the idea, I love it. I absolutely love it. Like I like to see those as well. It's about like, okay, what are the negatives, you know, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, I see that. I respect that. Yeah, I mean, I think we covered a lot in the video, but any closing thoughts, anything we didn't cover, Bash, that you want to add at this point?
I think one of like the frustration points I have seen in the past, I think a lot of people have necessarily moved past it, but there's not really a way. Like one of the coolest things I used to do is like low town hall pushing, and there's really not a way to do that once you get to Legends League. So I think that's a frustration point. And I think just like the skill gap is just a big frustration point, where I see, you know, kind of what we talked about, 58, 5,900. It's really hard to progress past that. But I mean, overall, I love Legends. I'm going to continue to play Legends. I've played it every season since it's came out, the new system. I've played the old cloud system, and this is definitely a lot less time consuming, where you can log on essentially 4 times a day, do 2 attacks at a time, and get your attacks in. So overall, I think Legends is a positive. Obviously, with everything, there's always going to be room for improvement, but it's one of my absolute favorite aspects of the game personally.
Yeah, I mean, just picking up on that before I throw to TK, my personal view is, yeah, like you're going to be limited in pushing in Legends as a lower town hall, but like that's where the next town hall is there. Because I really like the idea of having more filters in the leaderboards where you could filter by town hall level. So I could see who the #1 town hall 10 in the world is. Like, I don't know, you know, there's websites we can go to do that, but like just add a filter in the game so we can do that. maybe the filters is enough. And like, if you truly, I don't know, I haven't pushed as a lower town hall level, but like maybe you can make some legway if you are that good in like sniping town halls using blizzards or like whatever it is that they use to try and get 2 stars in Legends. But TK, anything else that we haven't spoke of that you wanted to share in the video?
Obviously, we went through a lot of topics, and I think we did talk quite a lot about those topics, and I think we have not missed anything. Like your idea about the leaderboards, I think that is a good idea in general. Maybe even connecting to the TV clash. I actually would like to see those Town Hall 10 attacks, you know, to trying to see how they do it, how they push high, because obviously, you know, we got new equipments in Clash of Clans now, so that is one of the reasons maybe they cannot get pushed that high, because the attacking on them, it becomes just harder and harder. But I would love to see how they're using their low equipments to snipe certain things. Like I've seen those attacks with, of course it's friendly challenges, but those lower town halls hitting higher town halls, I would love to see those in Legends League as well if it's possible. And a nice leaderboard to see, okay, who's the best Town Hall 12 player, if there are multiple Town Hall 12s of, I think. And I think we talked about everything, Judo. I think it's quite a video.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, that's a great idea as well. Like maybe that's a way to offset the negative for the lower town hall level players, that, you know, it is difficult to push for them, but like as a bit of a reward, they might get featured in the, you know, that live loop or whatever, which is always exciting. But yeah, thank you guys so much for joining. Obviously, I'll have both of your socials linked in the description as well. I mean, both of your channels, actually. You both run YouTube channels, so I'll have those both in the description. And yeah, thank you very much. Bash, any quick closing words or shout outs?
Oh, no, it's always, Judo. Pleasure being on. I appreciate you having me on for this discussion. Great having a little talk with you and TK, and good luck pushing out there, guys.
Yeah, thank you. And yourself, TK?
Thank you very much. It was an honor to be here and talk with you with this little details about Legends, and hopefully everything goes well in future for Clash of Clans. And again, thank you both for having me on the channel, and hopefully everyone is having a nice push in the season.
Yeah, well, thank you both for taking the time as well and adding your thoughts. I'm sure we'll get a lot of other people's thoughts in the comments as well. People are welcome to share their opinions, and we'll see where Legends League goes to in the future. But thank you again so much, and I will see you guys in the next one. Look forward to my video of all of the updates I would like to see. In the meantime, I'll pop a recommended one on your screen. Enjoy the rest of your day.